So my name is Dave. I'm part of Black Leadership Analysis, and I wanted to talk to you about another angle on this whole Liam Neeson thing. So Liam Neeson came out recently saying that his cousin or family member had been raped, and once they had been raped, he went out all over Ireland looking for a black bastard to attack and kill for retribution for his family member that got raped. Now, this is obviously something that's racist because the first thing he asked his cousin was what color the guy was that raped her. And so a lot of people are saying that, and I agree with this to some extent, that if people are going to start being honest about how they feel about race, then you can't immediately, as soon as they say something racist, just cancel them out and never speak to them again and boycott their shows. And I can understand that to some extent because we're not going to really be able to unpack this racial thing unless people can admit to being racist. At the same time, you can't tell a story where you went after just any black person, a black man to kill, and black men hear that and not be upset, and black women too hear that and not be upset. So the way to handle this in the future would be in a racial affinity group. Now, what's a racial affinity group? Dharma teacher Ruth King talks about it in her book. I have it in the cabinet. Let me get it, see if I can get it. Come with me. And so this new book by Ruth King talks about racial affinity groups. Yes, here it is. Mindfulness of Race. Pull it out for you guys. And this is the lady Ruth King. So it talks about racial affinity groups. And what a racial affinity group is a group of white people and a group of black people that get together. And they really deconstruct what it is to be black and what it is to be white. Now, the great thing about doing this in a room of same race people is that you could admit a story like this where you went after a black guy to kill and get the sympathy you're looking for and help, and you work with somebody to help unpack that. You can't expect black people to just always be in a space to where they can just accept literally any story and not judge and retaliate against people. I mean, there's been too many black people killed because of racist stories like this. Had to turn my light up because I know these videos end up looking way darker than what you do on the video. So this book here by this lady Ruth King is a great book on how to build one of these racial affinity groups and have a template on how to unpack your whiteness and how to unpack blackness to build more unity within your group and help you be stronger when dealing with other people. So every black person you tell a story like that to where someone black really could have died or got hurt is going to be able to hear it and not be upset, not be judgmental, and not want to boycott your movie. So that's why you need to come into a space where you're with other like-minded people that really want to help you unpack that and can give you the love and agape you need in that situation to be able to admit that and move forward and move past that. I definitely can understand people saying that they're glad that he was honest about what happened to him and how he's moved past that. I also appreciate people saying that they've had personal dealings with him and he's been good to them. But having personal dealings with somebody and then being good to them, that doesn't make you not racist. I mean, because if you're out here committing harm to just black people in general, that is racist. Even if there's one or two black people you would never do that to. So, and the same goes for Justin Fairfax. In his letter about the Governor Northam in blackface, he ends the letter by saying that Governor Northam was always nice to him, Well, you two are colleagues in government and you got to work together. So he can't really be all that mean to you. So it's good to just let him handle his problems with this blackface situation and not really try to throw in that he's personally nice to you. It's irrelevant if he's personally nice to you or not. And so the thing about the blackface is people are coming back and saying, well, you know, a lot of comedians wear blackface and some comedians wear whiteface. And that's true. But you have to understand the difference between a comedian wearing blackface and whiteface and the governor. A comedian is supposed to be controversial. He's supposed to push buttons. The governor is supposed to be able to help you build a legal system that isn't racist, is going to judge you as an individual. And if they show that as an adult, when they were late 20s, that they didn't have enough racial sensitivity not to joke about lynchings, because the photo was a Klansman and a dude in blackface. So they were joking about lynching. So if that's the other thing too. A lot of the other situations where they talk about Jimmy Kimmel wore blackface. Jimmy Kimmel wore blackface when he impersonated Karl Malone. Okay, well, that's him impersonating someone who's actually black. And Joe Behar in a Halloween costume dressed up as a black woman, you know, in 72. Well, that was a Halloween costume. Like, the problem with the Northam situation was it was a black guy, a guy in blackface standing next to a Klansman and a Halloween costume, and it's making light of lynchings that happen frequently in Virginia. Another aspect of the story is all that happened at a medical school with hundreds of doctors. So if these doctors were walking around parties where people are joking about lynching and no one stood up and said anything, can their racial insensitivity affect somebody in the medical field? So a lot of those doctors are in charge of hospitals now. Are they having fair hiring practices? A lot of those doctors are administering medicine to black people. Are they listening to black people and when we have pain and we need pain medication? Because there's a study saying that doctors are less likely to give black people pain medication than they are white people. So are these the doctors that are discriminating and less likely to give black folks pain medication? You know, this is all stuff we need to ask and need to go through and unpack. And so, yes, having a whole bunch of people at a med school party joking about lynching is a problem, whereas a comedian who's white, who's impersonating Karl Malone, isn't a problem. Like, it's not that big a deal. I mean, some people might have been offended by the Karl Malone bit, but I mean, that can be handled by not going to Jimmy Kimmel shows or not watching his TV show. Like what Governor Northam's doing, he has far more influence and pull than Jimmy Kimmel did on a late night TV show that you could just stop watching. So all this trying to equate blackface to whiteface and stuff like that, if it's comedians, it's irrelevant. Like, you can compare a comedian wearing blackface that's white to a black comedian wearing whiteface. So that's okay comparison to have a discussion about. But that doesn't have nothing to do with a governor who has to be fair to everybody and choose judges and help pass legislation. Like, his level of racial insensitivity will have a direct effect on my physical well-being if I were to live in Virginia. And really all over the world, because the Virginia judges will be the ones that will get a shot at being federal judges at some point. So it's very possible that I get a judge, if I was to get into trouble with breaking a federal law, that Northam picked back 10, 15 years earlier. So yeah, this is a problem. We don't need to just flatten stuff that doesn't need to be flattened. So again, look up Ruth King. She does a lot of podcasts too and interviews. So if you're not a big reader, everybody's not a reader. So if you want to know about racial affinity groups, that's a good way to learn about it. Just Google her name. A lot of interviews come up. It's real important. And yeah, so hopefully you can start one. I'll see you.